Welcome back to the Multifamily Marketers Podcast. I'm Josh Grillo, co-founder here at Resident 360. I am also joined by my co-host, the multifamily maven herself, Caroline Mills. Caroline, today we are going back in SEO land once again to talk about what?
We are going to talk about all things that are backlinks. We're going to talk about citations. We are talking about the nitty gritty of SEO. So we kind of did our overview. Then we were talking about GEO. So now we're really digging into the specifics and that nitty gritty of SEO.
That's right. So this continues on our SEO mini-series, if you would. If you missed our last two episodes, they're fantastic. Make sure you listen in. The first one was on-page SEO. Second one was all about AI overviews and GEO. That was episode 11 we just did. And with this, or actually episode 12, with this episode, we are diving into the importance of backlinks and citations for apartment websites. We are going to try to keep it somewhat high level. We're not going to get into the technical details too much. But to start, let's kind of break this down, Caroline. Like, what's a kind of a good definition of an offsite link? You know, you hear these stuff like offsite link building, you hear all the time for websites. What does that really mean?
Yeah, you do hear these. So you want to think of backlinks as your digital word of mouth. This is basically what Google sees others as, you might quote, like vouching for you, mentioning you. And so you want the quality of these to really matter. And so this is where else your website link, your property website link, is going to appear on other places. Think of this as being neighborhood blogs, maybe your Chamber of Commerce websites. You want these to be places that are going to actually not just mention the name of your property, but actually link back to you so that if residents or prospects are on other forums, other websites, they have a way to click back to your website is the easiest way to explain it.
Okay. And with that, I want to give a quick example. So I've always been a fan of getting good backlinks. So they always say one great backlink can change your rankings almost overnight. And I have an instance of that happening with me. About 20 years ago, I used to run a marketing blog where I would publish weekly marketing tips on this blog. And what happened is the New York Times actually wrote an online article about entrepreneurship and marketing, and they actually directly linked to one of my blog posts. And the words they linked were actually marketing tips. That was the actual words that they hyperlinked over to my blog post. And what happened was overnight, I saw my traffic absolutely explode. And what I think happened is, back then, we're talking like 20 years ago, Google said, wow, this little tiny blog now just got this really great authority link, New York Times Online, linking to it. So it must be credible. And so what happened is my SEO for all these different marketing style keywords that I was going for shot up overnight, and so did my traffic. So it's the exact same thing when you're thinking about backlinks and you're thinking about apartment websites. If you can get a few credible backlinks to your apartment websites, it's going to really help your sites appear higher in search rankings. Now, the second part of that is something called citations. So citations are kind of like your business card. That's how you should look at them. And when we say citations, it's really NAP is what we're considering, or name, address, and phone number. So this is stuff like, as Caroline mentioned, right? Having your Google business listing with your name, phone number, address. Having your Bing listing with the accurate name, address, phone number. Having stuff like local Chamber of Commerce listing with, your name, address, phone number. So you want to have your business listing in as many directories as you can. And the more important part is that it needs to be accurate. So if you have different phone numbers or you have old addresses or different, property names, it's not going to work, right? So Google is going to look at all these different things. They're going to look at your citations. They're going to look at your NAP, your name, address, and phone number. Make sure it lines up on all these different directories that are out there. And then on top of that, when you add in some quality backlinks to your apartment website, it's going to help you rank higher. So Caroline, let's dive a little bit deeper into this and let's talk, more along the lines of strategy. So you've got an apartment website. Where could you go and get some backlinks? Because they're kind of hard to get, right? If it was easy to get, everybody would have them. But that's
Right.
not like, it's just not the case. You got to go out there and start asking, right? Or find
Yeah.
areas that you can actually, that will accept a link back to your apartment website. But so how do you go about that? What do you do?
Yeah, yeah. And I love your story because it ties into this and how you were talking about the quality of the New York Times. You do want the quality more than the quantity. So just getting and like going to some spam website and like buying ones that are just going to randomly place your apartment website on all these crazy things that don't relate to you at all isn't going to do the work like Josh was saying. It's not going to get you exactly what you're looking for. You're not going to spike up like that. Really be careful and be mindful of when you're doing things for apartments, you are getting quality backlinks or trying to reach out to people that make sense for your community. So if I am a brand new development and I am leasing in Wilmington, North Carolina, I need to really partner and look at things and buy and like try and get these backlinks on things that make sense for my community and for the region I'm in. Maybe I am partnering with a local surfing school of telling me what they're closest located to, and I'm the closest property located to them. So now I've got a blog and a backlink of how close it is to walk to the beach and do the surfing school that's there. Maybe I am working with the Chamber of Commerce, and there's all sorts of things you can do with your local Chamber of Commerce. But think of these things that it could be neighborhood blogs. It could be a sponsorship in Wilmington every year. There's this big festival called the Azalea Festival. And so we always made sure to like sponsor it and get focused on these. There would be a blog about us. Our links would be located. You want things like that, something where it's going to relate to eyes and visibility, being credible, like Josh was saying, and then having high quality. Make it make sense that if somebody is on this website, it could make sense that they're clicking to your website. You don't want an influx of just page views that's not doing anything for you. You want it to make sense for what you're advertising and to build that local authority on your blogs, on your neighborhood things, anything that makes sense for your community. But don't just go and buy and spam and put them everywhere.
A good example of a place you can get links is if you have a new development and you're having a grand opening, why not reach out to local media and see if you can get any of the local media there, even
100%.
if it's smaller community style newspapers that can come out and cover your grand opening. Because if they're going to cover it, what that means is they're going to write about it in more than one lines. It may not make it in print, but it will more than likely make it on the online version of that
Absolutely.
newscast or, that local neighborhood guide. And what does that mean? That means it's going to be a link back, typically with your apartment name, back to your website, giving you credibility. So that is a huge thing that you can do. I will piggyback on that with one more example. So we did this for Resident 360 many years ago. We actually created a website for a local foundation here in San Diego, and they had a big grand opening, just like I was talking about. And they had a lot of the news media come down there to cover this opening. And what happened is they had a link right back to our site because we created the website for this actual event. And it helped us increase our rankings overnight for Resident 360. So these are just little things you got to be thinking about. And I liked your example of the surf school being in Wilmington, North Carolina, right? That's a great area for you to kind of like focus on and say, okay, some of these local events that are happening, here in San Diego, we have a lot of marathons and running events. So thinking about local events that you can even sponsor. If you're going to sponsor them, very good chance you're going to get good quality, credible links right back to your site.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about blogging content. So what would be some great content that a apartment website could create that could potentially get linked to? Or, you post it online and more people, so they see this post and they pick it up on socials and they want to link to it. What are some things that they can create?
I love this one. A lot of my favorite ones, we'll stick with the Wilmington example. A lot of my favorite ones are when I'm looking at a certain property website or something of what is local, what is around there, what's making them different. I want to envision what my life is like at the community, what it's going to be like with the staff, what it's going to be like, what do I have to do around town? I mean, think of how many people, we've talked about this in a few episodes, are looking at you online without ever coming to the property, or they might live across the country and now they're relocating. A lot of people are going to do their research online. And so some of my favorite blog things are sponsoring with those local businesses around town. If you're Wilmington, partner and do a rating of the best coffees in Wilmington around you. And now you're partnered with all these other little local coffee restaurants that you're doing blog posts on. Maybe it is the surf school and you're partnered with them to offer a 10% discount if you take a surfing lesson after you move in and show them your coupon. You can do a lot of cool different things. And so when I click a blog, I think there's an instance, we've talked about blogs before, of there are certain generic things you can do month to month, and consistency is the main key we talk about with these. You can, of course, cover, the 10 best holiday items to get for somebody who's moved into a new apartment. You can do things like that, and I think are also fun and great to do. But my favorite is all of the local things around there that you can partner with, really, make those connections, get those backlinks, and just partner with as many local businesses. Make the residents know what it's like to live there at your community.
So one of the keys when it comes to backlinks that I wanted to point out is that if you can include the actual keyword that you're trying to rank for. So for example, apartments in Wilmington, North Carolina, that's a pretty general keyword,
Right.
Probably going to be hard to rank
Right.
in the first, second, third, maybe even fourth position. I mean, Google probably shows, places listings anyway, but it's going to be difficult to rank in the top there for that specific keyword. So what you want to do is when you're getting backlinks is you want to make sure you have that keyword. If you can have that business actually hyperlink that specific keyword that you want to rank for on your website, linking back to your site, that's the ideal, because again, that tells Google, oh, your apartments in Wilmington, North Carolina, plus it's coming for an authoritative site that's linking back to you. You must be apartments in Wilmington, North Carolina. Therefore, we must show you at the top of the search results. That's the general idea here. It's like how many of those credible quality links you can get with that hyperlink text of your specific keyword. Now, diving a little bit more, let's talk about citations, citation tactics. So one of the things you want to do when you're thinking about citations, and I said it earlier, it's NAP, name, address, phone number. Very, very simple. And think of these as directories, right? So this is going to be Google Business. We've talked a lot about Google Business listings. There's tons of information out there about that. Want to make sure that's all lined up. Bing, that's another one. Bing Places, you need to look at that. Make sure your name, address, phone number is lined up in there. Apple Maps, something we don't talk a lot about. Opportunity there as well. Name, address, phone number, make sure your listing's claimed. That's happening. Apartments.com. Again, they're giving you name, address, phone number. Make sure all your information is correct. Yelp, another one that you may not want to hear about, but again, it's a directory, name, address, phone number. Plus, there's other still niche directories out there. Foursquare, it's still around, and they're a massive data provider. So name, address, phone number. All this stuff has to be accurate across these major sites. So what you want to do is you want to audit your citations, or at least audit the ones I just spoke about, and just make sure that NAP, name, address, phone number, is consistent. It's super important. It's your property's business card. So you want to make sure that it is totally lined up. That's going to help you rank higher. That's also going to help you show up in more AI overviews, AI searches as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And a good call out with that one is, this doesn't have to just be for new development. One, thinking about if you're transitioning a property that is undergoing a brand change, a name change, that you're truly checking all these different places. Don't expect them to feed an update on their own. And then last one is, yes, maybe you're an established community, but like Josh said, I mean, these need to match exactly. Make sure your street name is matching exactly, that you're spelling it out all the same way, that if you have apartments in your name, like we've talked about wanting before, that you've got apartments on everything. Make sure that they truly are. It's not just, oh, we're Main Street Square or whatever, your Main Street Square apartments on everything, and you're on 123 South Street everywhere. So like you said, and then if you undergo a name change, make sure you're doing these quickly. Sometimes Google can, flag certain things if they start not matching. If you change your website and then 2 months later you're changing your Google listing, and then 2 months after that you're finally getting to Apple, this can cause some issues in your ranking in the meantime, because they're just going to get confused on what you are and who you are.
That's, what you made an important point there, and I didn't really think about that. So with your address specifically, if you have the word street in there, are you spelling it out or are you just using ST? You should look at the different variations,
Yes.
or if it's like the word drive, is it DR or is it spelled out drive, or
Mhm.
avenue, is it AVE or is it actually spelled out avenue? So that's where you really want to have super consistency with your NAP across all your directories. Really, really important. I'm glad you pointed it
Exactly.
out, Caroline. Totally forgot about that one. So that's
Yeah,
good.
that's a good one.
All right, so let's talk about let's wrap this up. A couple of let's call it the quick wins checklist. So let's do a
Okay.
quick wins checklist. So I think number one is you want to just do a quick audit. So you want to run a backlink and a
Mhm.
citation audit. There's lots of softwares out there that can do that for you. I mean, here at Resident 360, we use SEMrush for all our stuff. Ahrefs is
Mhm.
another one, but there's a bunch of them out there that you can run citation audits. You can run backlink audits to kind of see what you have. And I guarantee you have backlinks, right? It might not be the
Mhm.
backlinks you actually want, but I bet you have backlinks. Uh, the second part of this quick wins checklist, you want to fix all your inconsistent NAP listings. So all those citations that are out there, you want to fix them, right? You want to make it very, very consistent. We do that here at Resident 360 for our clients. We look at all the different citations that are out there, and we make sure it's consistent. So you need to do the same as well. Third thing on this checklist is you want to add your property to at least 10 quality directories. So I gave you a few of them earlier. You can do a quick Google search and find other directories that you can add your property to that are of quality. And then I think, Caroline, as the fourth item, what you really want to do is make it a goal to get one new quality backlink a quarter. So one new
Like that.
quality backlink a quarter. That's not too tall of an order or too tall of an
Mhm.
ask. I think that's totally doable. Think
Mhm.
quality, over quantity. It isn't about quantity. It's actually about quality.
Right.
And then the last thing is just kind of monitor what's happening with your property brand, right? Look at mentions. You can still use Google Alerts that's still around, or some of the other
Mhm.
SEO software out there, SEMrush, Ahrefs, and so forth, and just see what's being said about your property. Monitor it to make sure you're showing up in the right ways online. Um,
Mhm.
and anything you want to add to that, Caroline?
Yeah, I would say our overarching idea is that you can't build authority on a shaky foundation. So you want clean citations that are going to tell Google who you are, and then you want quality backlinks to tell Google why you matter. This comes all back to the quality thing. You want Google to see why you're important, why your apartment's in Wilmington, just like we spoke about earlier.
Oh, I love that. That's a fantastic wrap up there. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone listening today. This will wrap up our little 3-episode mini series on SEO. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, share it with your on-site team and friends out there. And we will see you next week on another episode of the Multifamily Marketers Podcast. Take care. See you later, Caroline.
Bye.